Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am at the CVG airport in Kentucky today, and I'm about to board a Delta CRJ 900 up to LaGuardia Airport in New York City, and you're coming along with me. Today I'm going to be in row 4, seat A. I chose that seat because the seat is very well aligned with the window. It's also a single seat, and I'm hoping for some great views today. All right, let's do this. With the wind at LaGuardia coming from a 230-degree heading, we'll be landing on runway 22 with a left turn onto the final approach course because 230 degrees calls for the departure runway to be runway 31. What does that mean? Well, I'll explain it in more detail later on, but for me, it means I should sit on the left side of the plane for the best view of Manhattan, and I am. It's early in the morning and dark here, but when we get to LaGuardia, the sun will be shining. We'll start off with some air traffic control today leaving Cincinnati. Our call sign today is Endeavor 4852, as our flight is being operated by Endeavor Air for Delta Airlines. As we get ready to leave, the ground controller comes on the radio to let us know that there are no delays to LaGuardia this morning.
Sir, 4852, if you're up, there's no delays to LaGuardia this morning.
Well, that's certainly nice to hear. LaGuardia is known for delays, but today we'll be able to get in quickly. I'm not sure if our pilot got the message because he didn't respond, but it's not essential. We're pushing back on the ramp under the control of the ramp controller, and we're heading to stop at a marker on the ground, spot 5, before we taxi on the FAA-controlled taxiways. Here we are calling the ground controller for taxi clearance.
Ground Endeavor 4852 is approaching spot 5 with India.
Sir, 4852, runway 27, taxi via Sierra Mike.
27 via Sierra Mike, Endeavor 4852.
We checked in, acknowledging that we had listened to the latest airport information labeled India, and the controller told us to taxi to runway 27 via taxiways Sierra and Mike. As we approached the runway, we're told to switch frequencies to the local or tower controller, and we're given instructions to go on to runway 27.
Endeavor 4852, Cincinnati Tower, runway 27, line up and wait for wake turbulence. Additionally, traffic 10 mile right base, 18 center heavy Airbus.
All right, runway 27, line up and wait, Endeavor 4852.
CVG is a busy cargo airport. A heavy cargo airplane is taking off in front of us, and there's a heavy cargo Airbus that's going to land behind us. We're alerted to both by the controller. I'm happy I'm sitting on the left side of the plane so I can get a peek down the 12,000-foot long runway. Runway 27, as its numerical designation indicates, has a heading of around 270 degrees or west, which means that once we're airborne, we'll eventually need to fly in the opposite direction to get to New York City. Once the previous departure is far enough from us, the tower controller issues us takeoff clearance.
Endeavor 4852, caution wake turbulence at departure heavy Boeing 767, wind 200 fly heading 290, runway 27, clear for takeoff.
27, clear for takeoff, fly heading 290, Endeavor 4852.
We start our takeoff roll and make a slight right turn to 290 degrees after liftoff. As we start the right turn to 290 degrees, we're told to contact departure control.
Endeavor 4852, contact departure.
Contact departure, Endeavor 4852.
The departure controller provides us with headings to fly and altitudes to climb to get on course, and we work our way towards northern Ohio to join the Milton 4 arrival procedure to LaGuardia today. As we passed over the Cleveland area, the dark sky became illuminated with some embedded thunderstorms. Once we cleared the area of thunderstorms, the sun began to rise in the east. This is going to make for a beautiful arrival procedure into LaGuardia Airport this morning. As we get closer to LaGuardia, we tune our radio into LaGuardia ATIS to obtain important information about the airport this morning.
LaGuardia Airport ATIS information Yankee 105.0. Wind 230 hat breeze. Visibility 10. Wind 2000 scattered. 25,000 scattered. Temperature 17. Dew point 8. Altimeter 3002. Remarks. AO2 sea level pressure 166. ILS runway 22 approaching Ute land runway 22. Depart runway 31. LaGuardia class Bravo services. Available on frequency 126.05. Runway 4 precision approach path indicator out of service. Use caution for numerous birds in the vicinity of LaGuardia Airport. Advise on initial contact to have information Yankee.
There are several key pieces of information in the ATIS that pertain to me with regard to getting a great view of Manhattan. First, the visibility is 10 miles. It's actually more than 10 miles, but only 10 miles is being reported. You need good visibility to see distance, and 10 miles is more than what I need for the views today. The lowest level of clouds is at 12,000 feet. Ideally, when you fly into LaGuardia, if the base of the lowest level of clouds is at around 4,500 feet or above, you're good for good views. So far, the visibility and clouds allow for good views. The other piece of information is that the winds are coming from 230 degrees, and because of this, runway 22 is the landing runway, and runway 31 is the departure runway. 230 degrees provides a headwind for runway 22 arrivals as well as runway 31 departures. Runway 31 departures take off towards the west, towards Manhattan. So, since we're approaching LaGuardia from the south, we will be asked to fly to the east of LaGuardia, which means that as we fly over Brooklyn and Queens, Manhattan will be on the left side of the airplane. And that's why I'm seated on the left side of the plane. We've begun our descent as instructed by the center controller, and as we descend to 10,000 feet, we contact the New York approach controller, letting the controller know that we've received the ATIS information labeled Yankee.
Approach 74853 is at 0.8410, and we have Yankee.
Endeavor 4852, New York approach, LaGuardia, altimeter 3003.
We've checked in with the approach controller, and the controller lets us know the current altimeter setting at LaGuardia. We maintain this altitude for a while over New Jersey. The sun has risen above the horizon, and the sky is a brilliant shade of orange to start the day. The turns that we make are turns on the published arrival procedure. One behind the other, all planes follow the same route from the west. As we get closer to the eastern side of New Jersey, we're cleared down to our next altitude, 7,000 feet.
Endeavor 4852, descend to maintain 7,000.
4852.
In the distance, we can see the Atlantic Ocean beyond the Jersey shoreline and Staten Island. We'll be turning around Staten Island to head in a northeasterly direction toward New York City. As I mentioned, we're following an arrival procedure called the Milton 4 arrival. It's designed for flights arriving from the west. There's another arrival procedure that flights from the south are following. It's called the Corey 4 arrival. Aircraft on the Corey 4 arrival meet up with aircraft on the Milton 4 arrival around Staten Island, and it's around that point that the approach controller tells aircraft to make turns, descend, and reduce speed so that they can all fit in, one behind the other. We're still at 7,000 feet to remain clear of flights to and from Newark Airport, which is just north of our arrival course over eastern New Jersey. As we look out to the left, we can see the morning sun shining on One World Trade Center in lower Manhattan. Today, since runway 31 is the departure runway, Manhattan is going to remain on our left side.
Endeavor 4852, descend to maintain 4,000 and proceed about LaGuardia, vector to final.
So maintain 4,000, direct LaGuardia, vectors to final, Endeavor 4852.
Now that we're closer, we're cleared to descend to 4,000 feet and proceed direct to LaGuardia. What exactly does that mean? Where at LaGuardia do we proceed direct to? Well, at LaGuardia Airport, there's a navigational aid called a VOR, appropriately called LaGuardia. Our pilot is able to tune into this VOR and fly directly to it. It's located on the pier to runway 22 in Flushing Bay. We'll actually pass by it when we touch down. Now, proceeding directly to LaGuardia from this position keeps us on the east side of Manhattan. We have only been told to proceed directly to the airport's VOR, not the runway we'll land on. In fact, the landing runway, runway 22, is in the complete opposite direction that we're flying in now, and the only way we can land on the runway is to be first cleared for the approach to runway 22 and then cleared to land. So understand that we're only heading towards the airport, but we are not configured to land. If runway 13 were the departure runway today, we would not be told to proceed direct to LaGuardia. Instead, we would be told to fly northbound over or around the Hudson River. Why? Because runway 13 departures would be taking off into the airspace to the east of LaGuardia. We'll actually be flying into that airspace to the east of the airport today, but it will be safe for us as runway 31 is the departure runway and all departures will take off away from us towards Manhattan. So this approach keeps us east of Manhattan. In the distance is Newark Airport. Newark Airport traffic is no longer a factor in our vectoring or altitude now as it was when we were over New Jersey earlier. We just flew over Staten Island, and we're now looking at ships in the upper bay of New York Harbor, and we're flying directly over Brooklyn. The land on the far side of the water is New Jersey. This body of water is about to split into two rivers, the Hudson River and the East River. The Hudson River follows the New Jersey shoreline, and the East River follows the Brooklyn and Queens shorelines with Manhattan between the two. We're about to get a close-in look at Manhattan and its two primary clusters of skyscrapers, Lower Manhattan and Midtown Manhattan. And since it's early in the morning, the sun is in a great position, casting warm hues on the buildings. If we were to keep flying this heading, or directly to the LaGuardia VOR, we would actually fly right over the airport, which would bring us right over the runway we need to land on, runway 22. But we need to pass by the runway and essentially make a U-turn to land on it. So before we reach the airport, the controller issues us a turn to the right, which will help us join a course that will keep us parallel to the direction of landing, to its east.
Number 4852, turn right, heading 070.
One of the reasons why we were asked to turn to this heading at this point is because of the presence of Kennedy Airport off to our right, and we needed to be far enough to the northwest of JFK before we can make this turn. Flights departing on runway 31 left at JFK actually take off in the direction of where we are now, but they need to turn to the left and head over the ocean during their climb out to avoid where we are right now. Our current positioning allows us to remain clear of the airspace where JFK departures make their climbing left turn. There is so much that needs to be considered up here. We are in the middle of very tight and very complex airspace. The 70-degree heading affords us a great view of our destination airport, LaGuardia. We can see runway 22, our landing runway, and you can even make out the LaGuardia VOR just to the side of runway 22. If you look carefully, you can even see a plane departing on runway 31. That plane will take off in the airspace away from us, which is why we're here. What a great view of the construction on the east end of LaGuardia Airport. On my channel, I provide regular updates on the progress of what's going on this side of the airport. It's great to see it from up here. Don't forget to watch some of my construction update videos, and by the way, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, I invite you to click on that subscribe button. You'll find that all of my videos provide a great level of depth to enhance the passenger experience. We're now flying by the College Point and Whitestone neighborhoods of Queens. Beyond Queens, on the other side of the East River, is the borough of the Bronx. The Bronx is surrounded by water on three sides. There are two suspension bridges that connect Queens to the Bronx. The Whitestone Bridge, named for the neighborhood on the Queens side, and the Throgs Neck Bridge, named for the neighborhood on the Bronx side. We're now going to be told to turn further to the left so we can join a downwind leg. This means we'll fly in roughly the opposite direction of landing.
Endeavor 4852, turn left heading 050.
Left to 050, Endeavor 4852.
The 50-degree heading is to the northeast. As we dip our wing, we can see the Throgs Neck Peninsula. This is the southeastern corner of the Bronx. All of the land that we see here is the Bronx. We're now flying over Long Island Sound. How far out we go on this heading depends upon how much traffic there is in front of us. The same rule of how much traffic in front of us before we start our turn back to the airport would also apply if we were flying on the west side of the airport. On the right side of the plane is Long Island, which extends out 100 miles, separating the Long Island Sound from the Atlantic Ocean, we now have a great view of City Island, the Bronx's nautical community with its many restaurants and marinas. The island is about 1.5 miles long and a half-mile wide. To the right of City Island is Hart Island, an island used as a burial ground for New York's unclaimed. We're going to see these islands again from the other side once we make our left turn back around to land.
Denver 4852, reduce speed to 180, then descend and maintain 2000.
Reduce speed to 180 and then maintain 2000, Denver 4852.
The controller has instructed us to reduce our speed to 180 knots and then descend to 2,000 feet. There's one airplane that's coming in from the north, so we're told to turn to the left now and report the airport in sight.
Denver 4852, turn left heading 320, advise LaGuardia in sight.
Left heading 320 and field in sight for 4852.
Denver 4852, clear visual approach, runway 22.
Clear visual approach, runway 22 and Denver 4852.
Well, that was easy. Our pilot was able to see the airport behind us and to the left, so the controller cleared us for a visual approach to runway 22. All we need to do is keep the runway in sight. We're making this turn to come in before an airplane that's arriving from Canada, from the north. Arrivals from the north follow either the Nobi 5 or Harp 3 arrival. As these aircraft near New York City, they fly southwest on the western shore of the Sound, and we need to be sequenced between these aircraft as they get lined up with the runway very far out. Generally, there are less flights coming in from the north. The majority of aircraft approach LaGuardia from the west and south, but there's one right now, and we're going to land directly in front of him. As we continue our large left turn to join a straightened approach to runway 22, we can see Long Island now, but for our pilot, it's all eyes straight ahead as we keep the runway in sight. We're now leaving the control zone of the controller that's been guiding us all the way down from 10,000 feet to now. He's going to tell us to contact the control tower at LaGuardia Airport on another frequency.
Denver 4852, contact LaGuardia Tower 118.7.
Over to Tower 118.7, Denver 4852.
For transmissions on the LaGuardia Tower frequency, I'm going to let you listen into all transmissions so you can understand the full traffic picture. As we contact the control tower, the controller immediately tells another aircraft to line up on runway 31, advising that pilot that we are on approach. We're then given clearance to land, but advised that traffic will hold and depart on runway 31, that intersecting runway.
LaGuardia Tower and Denver 4852, visual 22.
Delta 1370, LaGuardia Tower, runway 31, line up and wait, traffic on a 5-mile final for 22.
31, line up and wait, Delta 1370.
Denver 4852, LaGuardia Tower, wind 230 at 4, runway 22, clear to land, traffic will hold and depart, runway 31.
Runway 22, clear to land, Denver 4852.
We are cleared to land, but there's a lot going on. There's another Endeavour aircraft behind us that also receives landing clearance. There's a Brickyard or Republic Airlines airplane that just became airborne into the airspace west of LaGuardia and being handed off to departure control, and a Delta plane getting takeoff clearance on runway 31, followed by another Brickyard or Republic plane being asked to line up. Listen to this.
LaGuardia Tower, Denver 4672, visual 22.
Denver 4672, LaGuardia Tower, number 2, following traffic 4-mile final, wind 240 at 4, runway 22, clear to land, traffic will hold depart 31.
22, clear to land, Denver 4672.
Denver 4858, contact New York departure, have a good flight.
Over departure, good day, Brickyard 4858.
Delta 1370, wind 240 at 4, traffic 3-mile final for 22, runway 31, clear for takeoff.
31, clear for takeoff, Delta 1370.
Brickyard 5599, LaGuardia Tower, runway 31, line up and wait, traffic lands 22.
31, line up and wait, Brickyard 5599.
Of special note was the fact that when the controller issued takeoff clearance to Delta 1370, the pilot was advised that there was traffic on a 3-mile final. That's us. The controller wants to make sure that the Delta pilot understands to take off so that by the time he reaches the intersection of runway 22, we're not too close. And our pilot is listening in and looking out the window at the Delta plane taking off. Like all departures this morning, the Delta plane will be taking off towards Manhattan. The tower also told a Brickyard or Republic Airlines plane to line up on the runway and that traffic will land prior to this flight being issued takeoff clearance. That's us. By this point, Delta 1370 has become airborne and is told to contact the departure controller.
1370, contact New York departure, have a good flight.
And the turnover to departure, Delta 1370.
At this point, the runway is completely clear for us, and there will be no more departures prior to our arrival. As we touch down, the tower controller will issue takeoff clearance to the Brickyard or Republic Airlines flight that was told to line up behind the Delta flight that took off before we landed. The controller will also tell a Southwest flight to line up on the runway behind that Brickyard flight, but before that flight is issued clearance for takeoff, the Endeavour Air flight behind us will land. Then, an American Airlines flight behind that Endeavour flight will call the tower for landing clearance on runway 22, but the controller sees that we need to be instructed to vacate the runway to the left so that Endeavour can land.
Aircraft 5599, winds 240 at 4, traffic 3 mile final for 22, runway 31, clear for takeoff.
31 clear for takeoff, Brickyard 5599.
1913 LaGuardia Tower, runway 31, line up and wait, traffic lands 22.
Runway 31, line of way, southwest, 1913. LaGuardia Tower, good morning, American 796, 7 mile final 22.
Endeavour 4852, turn left Charlie, left Bravo, contact ground.
Left Charlie, left Bravo, contact ground 4852.
We're told to turn left onto taxiways Charlie and Bravo and to contact ground control. Ground control is located in the tower and will tell us which taxiways to take to get to the gate at Terminal C today.
74852, LaGuardia ground taxi Bravo, short of Kilo advice.
Bravo short kilo, we'll let you know 48.
We're told to take taxiway Bravo and hold short of taxiway Kilo and then advise the ground controller once our gate is available. We'll find out on another radio. Taxiway Bravo loops around to parallel runway 31, and when we're on taxiway Bravo on the left-hand side of the aircraft, we can see airplanes that are departing on runway 31 towards Manhattan, as well as aircraft that are coming into runway 22, just like we did. As we hold short of taxiway Kilo, we tell the controller we're cleared into the ramp via taxiway Mike because we received word from the ramp controller that our gate is open.
Ground Endeavour 4852, Bravo short of Kilo, they want to send Mike.
4852, you cleared in?
Yes, sir.
Alright, Kilo Alpha and at Lima, give way to Southwest, taxi.
Kilo Alpha to the ramp after Southwest 4852.
We're told to take taxiways Kilo and Alpha to get there and to give way to a Southwest 737. We can then turn onto the ramp for Terminal C and taxi into the gate. Once we come to a full stop, the gate agent brings the jet bridge to the gate so that we can deplane. All right, I am back on the ground here at LaGuardia Airport. What a beautiful approach, as always. Well, I really hope you enjoyed the diversity of all these different approaches. This time when we landed at LaGuardia, we made a left turn onto the final approach course, the runway 22, for some different views. What I loved about this approach was the fact that I was able to see the airport before I landed. And that's one reason why I chose a seat today on the left-hand side of the airplane. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me today on my flight from Cincinnati to LaGuardia. I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I invite you to click on the subscribe button because I have a lot of great content to share with you coming up. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.